Hello, everyone. Yeah, good morning. Hey, all right. So today's talk is about behind the scene, right? So we are not going to talk about what we did in the past 2 years. We just talk about how this community been built, not by me, but how we see the challenge. So little bit introduction. I'm ttcat. My real name is Min-Hsuan. And I changed my profile picture this morning. It's an actual TT. She's been with me for 13 years, more than 13 years, I think. Right, so I work for Open Culture Foundation as well as one of the hackathon organizer of GovZero. So I'm not the founder, I'm not a co-founder, and I'm just a contributor. So today's talk, a lot of it is from our community. So you can consider me as a robot. I just try to talk what the people think, what other people think, collaboratively, right? So it's very hard to use one sentence to describe what GovZero is. So we consider ourselves, we started from the open source movement, and people here are more hands-on, just like we don't like a big talk or discuss everything before. We like to do things, hacking. And also we care about the public issues. So combine all those is a GovZero. The community started 2012. At first, our slogan is coding to change the society, right? And recent years, we found we are not only coding to change the society, we do a lot of other things rather than coding. So what makes a community? A little bit quote from our co-founder, Ipa. She had this speech in GovZero Summit last weekend. She think this picture is from a BBC video. It's about how the trees communicate underneath of the earth to each others. So she think the community is like this. It's like a hidden network of the individuals. They organic to create a link, or there's a chemistry between each one of the others. So. And the community drive through this kind of network, like us today. I think community is a little bit more. It's about identity. So the community is about who we are, what we believe, how we do things, and where are we going, and why, right? And this question is, for me, is consistently in recent months to think about who am I in this community? What's my position? What should I do more? And where are we going? In our community, we have this nobody spirit, right? So everybody is a nobody. So ask not why nobody is doing this. First, admit you are the nobody, right? And I don't know if it makes sense in every language, but if it doesn't, you can ask me later. I will try to explain more. So everybody, nobody can do everything, right? And what if nobody becomes somebody? That's another story. All right, so, all right. Oh, shoot. There's a fancy video, but I couldn't show you. Yeah. All right, so I show you later, right? So last weekend we have our third summit, GovZero Summit 2018. There's 130 people volunteer to do this work for almost 7 months, 6 months to organize the whole event. The summit, when it's really big, so we have 600 people to register, and eventually like 500 something to check in a Saturday, right? And if you see the background from the summit, you can see we are more than the traditional tech community. Like there's a lot of people identify themselves as a netizen, civic technologist, from the researcher, or social media, or social activists from government. And there's like 1% of people identifying themselves as a internet celebrity, like a leader of the network. I think that's Matt there, right? Okay. So our Slack is an open Slack, now reach 4,000 people there. So this community started from the first hackathon. We have 90% people are hackers. And it become, right now, 6 years later, we have so many different people from different sectors. They probably don't know how to coding, but they care about the issues, and then they want to work with other people from tech, from journalists, from media, from people who with low backgrounds, right? Sounds amazing, right? So we, not only me, but like some other people go out to say something about GovZero, and everybody feel like it's amazing, like a Wonderland, Disneyland, and full of fairy tales from the Far East, small island, Taiwan, very exhausting, right? But the reality is more like this, yeah? It's a very chaos, and right, I'm the middle one. So sometimes nobody is a reality. Sometimes there's literally no one commit to do something. Or sometimes when you try to do a new project, or you try to commit to the change, it feels like you are jumping to a big hole by yourself, right? It's a reality in the community. I assume most of you been feeling about that. It's also quoted from our co-founder, Ipa. So GovZero started from the bi-monthly hackathon. We run the bi-monthly hackathon. Then it became like a lot of different projects, people from government, from NGO, and they will have a small hackathon meetup between bi-monthly hackathon. And then 2014, we have the first summit. And to do the summit, we need a legal entity to get a donation, to have a fundraise, to have a staff, right? So they started an Open Culture Foundation, which I'm here. Then there's another tech force to help to run the hackathon bi-monthly. So there's some contributor from the community. They group it around every week. They meet every week to talk, to plan how to run the things. And also we run a civic tech grant. So we also fundraise from the corporation. So we now have some relationship with private sectors. They will keep asking us, what's your impact? What's your impact? Yeah, like that, right? So it's become more than just hackathon, more than just the itself. It become more like a ecosystem, and people from different cadre or different ships here, they all have a different precision or different motivation and a different way to do things, right? So at first we thought we are ourselves as a decentralized community, but the more I'm thinking we more like a multi-centralized. Every different project is a tech force, like a summit is a tech force, they run by themselves, right? And how we all work together. Right. So we have to make sure there's always have somebody there, right? So that's why we need all those like infrastructures. We need people to organize the meetup at least, provide the food, right? And also inside the community, you need the people who have an idea to dig out the hole, and also you need somebody who is very nice, friendly with everybody to push someone into those hole, and also you need people who are willing to commit, yeah, and also a lot of interpreters. So the idea is everyone can find a hole to fit inside this community, right? You can find your own ship. It's my hole, right? All right, second one is we do have a difference. So it's not like everybody works so great and friendly to each other and everybody happy inside the community. We do debate and the people are going to different directions. And we, mostly me, do unfriend with each other on the Facebook. I have an addition on it. Yeah. And inside the community, whenever we have a conflict, the way we do things is we try to co-create the rule. What's the SOP if something happened like this? So we debate and we talk a lot on the share note. As you may know, HAPAD before, now is MD. So the idea is after this debate, we can copy and paste this URL to other people if there's a similar crisis happen again. Like this one. So in the first year of the GovZero, people are keep telling I'm the member of the GovZero, right? So some people argue we are not an organization. We're just an open community. So nobody is a member. Why you are the member? I'm not a member, right? So how we call ourselves as a GovZeroer or a contributor or whatsoever. So there's a huge debate on the HAPAD back then. Or sometimes you just fork. People can copy everything is open source, so they can start their own organization or own community whatsoever. Like this one is a RG10. So before she became the digital minister of Taiwan, she's actually a very long time contributor inside the GovZero. And then when she about to be appointed, we also have this HAPAD to debate or discuss what's the relationship with her become a minister, with the community and everything. So everything is open online for every contributors of the community to discuss and to make the rule. Okay, 4 minutes. And even the Open Culture Foundation. So we start from HAPAD too. So some people say we should have a ZeroRG.tw is a legal entity. Luckily, we didn't use that name. And within 1 week, people fundraised another amount of money, like 5 million Taiwanese dollars, to start this foundation to do things. Right. So it's a map of the topic we care about from the hackathon in past 6 years. So you can see there's a very, very different topic, and people are going different directions. So we're now thinking more about how we listen to people who are trying to use a different approach. People like RG trying to go inside the institute, or people try to work more with the government, work more with civil society, or you try to do this project, I try to do another project, and how we hack the boundary between each others. And then the last one I want to share is, I think the movement is about open. So 2014, I was an activist in 2014. I didn't join GovZero back then. We have a sunflower movement that a student occupied the parliament for 23 days. People sleep on the street. And some people like me from the activist background, we go to this kind of protests a lot, right? And then we will recognize everybody. Oh, there's a friend, there's a Milo here, and Kayo there. So it's like a gathering from the circle. But the sunflower movement is very different because I don't know anyone there. So it's become very huge. And people send the food, or people outside the parliament is like a free space, like an open space. People can start a tent and they say, I can do the haircut. So I'm going to do a free haircut because you sleep here for 2 weeks. Looks ugly already. And I can do the free massage. Or there's a university student say, I can teach the high school student because the midterm test is coming, right? So I think the movement is, this is what GovZero contribute. In the first night, people breaking some device and set up the internet for the chamber. So what happened inside the parliament can actually live stream broadcast outside to everybody online. So people start to understand what's going on of this movement. So they build a trust of this movement from the general public to the group. So I think the movement is like, whenever it's open and open up to everyone can contribute in whatever you can, whatever you want, and whatever you have, right? Let's make it a movement, right? So that's me back then. We start this like a public debate on the street about our constitution using the Wall Street signs. And on the street, there's 600 people talking about what's going on of our constitution or our politics. So I didn't ask anybody we want to have these kind of events. So every kind of things happen there. And I truly believe that that makes the movement. So what's the movement relate to our community? I think the openness is not part of our lifestyle yet. So the democracy, the way you have to talk with people you disagree, or you have to make a decision with all these people together, all those stakeholders together. It's not part of our culture. When you are in child in school, or when you go up, you have a job in a company or organization, all this experience of the decision making is a very top down, right? So how we expect people from this kind of background become the politician, become the people inside the institute, know how to run the things openly, know how to lead our democracy properly. So I think we need more practice and more experiment in our daily life. And the community build the culture, the open culture, and the culture actually drives the movement. All right? So that's my talk. I finished already. And a little bit ask your help is I bring a lot of flyers about our civic grant projects. So if you like, you can bring more back to your community because I don't want to bring it back to Taiwan. All right? So thank you for your help. That's my talk today. Thank you.
Thank you. Please stay a bit more for the questions. If I can just get them. Okay, thank you. So the first one, how do you onboard new members? What's this process?
There's no process.
Okay.
You just join our Slack, or you show up in the hackathon, or you contribute on our share note online. Nobody will ask who you are. You just become the contributors.
Okay, let me ask you the reverse question then. How do you get rid of members, if there is such a thing? No, it's just a question that I came up with.
Get rid of the people?
Yeah, for instance, I mean, there is a low entry barrier, but how do you exit if you violate the terms, so to speak? Are there
it's
any?
It's not happening. I
never
don't
happened.
think that actually happened. Yeah. So
there was no trouble with any member ever.
For me, I just unfriend somebody. So
I see. Okay. So Anonymous is asking us, define your hole digging strategy and how you make people stay in the hole.
All right, that is a tough question. So digging a hole is very tough because sometimes people like me, always have like different ideas, new ideas. Hey, we can do this, right? But we need somebody to actually understand how it can be more practical to be done. So those kind of people, this kind of people, they can modify the whole to more proper way or more practical way, and let people to get in. But how you make sure everybody always stay there to commit? Well, I think there's two kind of people who will willing to commit very long time. The first one is you give them a lot of media coverage before they start doing anything, or they just start a little bit. So they feel the pressure from the society or from their own community, like, I need to finish this. So they will committed, keep consistently to do that. And the second one is that you just You just need to be with them. Yeah, you need to be with them to go through the tough questions, tough challenge, or if they need more skill, more advice on the technical skill, you know how to find the people to give them advice. If it's about the social issue, you know how to connect them to the right civil society organizations, and so on.
Okay, I'll take a technical question now. We'll combine the questions related to HackPad. So the first one, when everyone's opinions are discussed on HackPad, how do you make fruitful decisions with so many stakeholders? And do you use any other collaborative decision-making tools internally apart from HackPad?
All right, so the first one is that usually this kind of discussion on the HackPad is not, there's no time say, okay, it's the end. All right, so it's more like if people stop talking or stop discuss on the share note, we will tend to assume that people is already moved on or the current state is already satisfied. But sometime, maybe 2 years later, some people went back to the HackPad and say, we need to change this, and then they will start a new discussion on it. So there's no final decision say, hey, we are going to do that. It's more like there's a discussion here, and if something happened relate to this discussion before, we should respect that as a community contributors.
And do you use other tools than HackPad?
Yeah, but the HackPad is die, right? So now we move to HackMD. So if you type gov0.hackmd.io, I think, or TW, it's a alternative share note using the Markdown.
Okay, now a question about context. How much is Gov0 related to the larger tech community in Taiwan or to other human rights and democracy organizations?
Okay, so there's a lot of open source community in Taiwan, which exists like 10 or 20 years ago, very large. So the volunteer you see from the Gov0 Summit, there's maybe half of them is from other open source communities. They maybe it's not a contributor, but they love to host events, so they will went from this event to another event, and they know the technical and the venue very, very well already. So they connect Gov0, well, the first, when the community start, I would say maybe half of them is from different open source community already. They know each other already before. So now in Open Culture Foundation, we provide a service for the open source communities. We provide them as a legal entity or like a physical sponsor and so on. So we now host like more than 20 different projects. So some community even hires staff in our organization.
So relating to this, what is Gov0's relationship with organizations like Code for Japan or Team Popong?
Well, I can only answer this as a individual. We are a very good friend, but as a community, there's no formal relationship that the community can have with others. So sometimes if we have to make some like a project, maybe we can go to like Open Culture Foundation with the Code for Japan, like how we join Code for All, we use the Open Culture Foundation as a legal entity.
I see. Okay, where do you think Gov0 would be if the Sunflower Movement had not happened?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I hope it still can develop, but maybe it's not so soon. Or maybe it's not so easy to get trust from the civil society organization. So you know some activists, right? So they are very hard to trust people, okay? So they have a like inner circle trust network. I found there, right? So I know how this is going on. So, right. Thanks, Matt.
How do you do how do you do knowledge management?
Okay, so Yeah, it's very hard because the knowledge management, so people come and go, right, in the community. And people, like I said yesterday, people come and they don't understand anything about civic tech. They don't know what's code for all. They don't know other projects it is. They just want to build things. They just want to fix the problem. So it's very hard to say, hey, sit down and looks like a article before you do things. It's very hard. So that's why we start the GovZero News inside the Open Culture Foundation. So we try to use like a very short digest weekly or some article in Mandarin, not in English, to share those knowledge, right?
Is there a critical mass of people needed to make open strategies work? If so, how many?
Sorry, I don't understand this question.
I mean, what's the point after can we do it alone in a team of 2 people, 10 people, 50 people?
Well, the strategy of the GovZero project, if it's that what I want to ask, is that you should be open source, and you should open up for other people to contribute. Even sometimes there's no one to want to contribute. You still need to open it, right? So, right, sorry, I really don't understand this question.
All right, do we have any other questions that are not emoji or?
How traditional is the Taiwan society? Well, we are. If the question is asked about if we are compared to China or compared to, right? So Taiwan is pretty often open and pretty free and pretty democracy. The democratic country, I would consider, is the most democratic country in Asia. So I think the big reason, there's 2 reasons. One is China, because China claim Taiwan is part of them, right? So people in Taiwan want just like try very hard to tell people we are not like them. So whenever they go more close or more authoritarian, we want to go more open and free to show we are different than them, right? And the second one is America. So America put a lot of influence. So it's another story, right? So we are pretty not traditional society.
So apparently Matt is not drunk because now he has a serious question. How do you see GovZero's role in the Code for All network, for example, with GovZero News?
Right, so that's also tough because I don't know what this community wants. All right, so I could not decide for the community what their rule is, or yeah. But what I can do is whenever we have a project from Code for All, I will introduce to our community and try to convince somebody to commit and contribute, or maybe they can join us, our legal entity in Open Culture Foundation. We can build on like a GovZero News. I would love to share this news because it's already open source for the article too, so I can exchange to whatever media out there, and also we have a struggle to reach more English readers. So, of course, I would love to see more exchange from our project.
And the last question from Jakub: civic tech organizations should look into. Oh, there's another question. Well, there was another question, but it just disappeared. So if we don't have any other question popping up soon. Thank you for your messages. Yeah. Try to formulate them as questions with a question mark at the end. And thank you for the insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much.